And just like that, ooh, hot damn. Ooh, hot damn. Episode 135 of the podcast with my man, Todd Banhazl, who's on the show today. And we're going to get serious. So let's do it.
Welcome to the Wandering DP Podcast, where we focus on Leica photography, cinematography, and life offset. And now your host, Patrick O'Sullivan.
And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. And today, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice that we are in spherical. This is the first time the podcast has been in spherical Sundays, even though it's Tuesday. And yeah, that's because the Lomos are out. No anamorphic today for the YouTube show. That's okay. The 12 people that watch the YouTube show, you'll be able to see the whole room in spherical now. So that's good for you. We have on the show today, for your listening pleasures, Todd Banhazl, a amazing name for a cinematographer. And I didn't discuss this with Todd when we sat down, but it's probably the one name where you would want to chop off Todd and you would just want to leave Banhazl. Because you can imagine people sitting around creative agencies. There's some guy, they're sitting there, they've been working on this ad for whatever, face cream, for 6 years, and they've been trying to get this thing off the ground. They're sitting there with the client, and they're going, this is how we're going to do it. It's going to be in this room. It's going to be white. It's going to be amazing. There's going to be this beautiful woman. She's going to be applying the moisturizer. It's going to be fantastic. Just wait and see. And the director gets the job. He gets the nod after the treatment with all the other Dove commercial ads. And then the question comes up, who are we going to get to shoot this? Well, we could get Joe Smith. We could get Matt Brown. Or we could get Banhazl. And you just see the eyes just perk up all around the room. Who? We're going to get fucking Banhazl to do this? You think so? Banhazl? Banhazl just comes in. He's got a fucking top hat. He's got one of those monocles just looking at you. He's wearing candy cane stripes for pants. Yes, I am Banhazl. Let's go. You just got licensed. It seems like you got licensed to be a little bit out there. And Todd, I think he's channeling that. And he's doing good things. So that's going to be our guest today. Todd, also as a side note, which has nothing to do with cinematography, just shows you how small of a world it is. Every time I go to Los Angeles, when we're there for the podcast, I stay with friends. And we're in this little area of Los Angeles. It's a small neighborhood. I don't want to dox anybody, so I won't say exactly where it is. But it's a precious metal, and there's a body of water around it. It's not an ocean. It's not a river. It's not gold either, the precious metal. And in this area of Los Angeles, you could pretty much, if you fucking throw a rock in the air, you're going to hit 4 or 5 DPs in the head. And the first one that you hit with probably the most force, then the bullet's going to go all JFK, hit a bunch, 4 or 5 other DPs. But that first one that you hit, he's going to go down. He or she is going to go down in a heap. They're going to be dead. And you'd think the other DPs would react. They'd be like, woof. Got to save this one person who's just got hit in the head with this rock, fell out of the sky. But probably the other DPs are frisking that person for exposed or what do they call it when it's out of date? Expired. 35 millimeter film, just searching, just looking for that film. Everybody, you go on the street corners in this little neighborhood, and there's just DPs everywhere. They're shooting shit with film that was concocted in 1949, some factory in Russia. Anyway, so I stay in this area, and the people who I'm staying with, the friends, say, oh, there's actually, I know there's a person that does cinematography on this street whose name happens to be Todd. You should probably look at interviewing them. Lo and behold, it's fucking Banhazl. He's been living on this street, and I've been staying next to him a couple times a year, not even knowing it. So, small world. Me and Toddy B, and I don't even think Todd knows that. So, you learn something new every day, people. That's basically what I'm saying. Okay, Patreon, the live stream, it's going to be moved this week. I'm going to quickly sneak it in between jobs while I've got all the gear. So that is going to be tomorrow, which is actually today if you're listening. It's going to be Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So we're going to sneak in a little Patreon live stream, so get your projects in. People ask, where do you send the projects when I want to get them reviewed and put them on the live stream? Well, however you ask me that question, you can send me the project. So a lot of people will email me, where do I send the project? Well, you just email me. Or if you ask on Patreon, just put the link there. I will go through and I'll look at them and I'll try and get everybody on the show. Sometimes it's difficult, but that is the aim of what we're going to be doing tomorrow in the Patreon group. I appreciate it. If you haven't checked out the YouTube channel, I'm releasing little snippets of the Patreon live stream just so people can follow along and see, because there's so much content in those streams that I wanted to get it out there and share it just a little bit more so you can see, maybe if you're thinking about supporting the show and making these things happen more often, that you get to see what you're in for with those streams. I think they're a lot of fun, and they've been handy for me and for, hopefully, for the people listening. So, which leads us to a beautiful segue to the music bed, ladies and gentlemen. And this sort of mirrors what it's like to be on set for a cinematographer. And I think it was Rupert Sanders, when we had director Rupert Sanders on the show, that was talking about this. I can't remember if he said it on the podcast or in between, but there is an element when you go away and you've been working on a project for so long, and you're the director, especially directors, but also cinematographers, because it happens to a certain extent. You just get used to blurting out ideas and using the pronoun we and getting exactly what you want. A lot of the times you'll be thinking, from a DP's perspective, we should probably put up a black, like a big 20 by, and then we'll have some bounce. We'll have a few, bring the 18Ks in. We'll just put them on the cherry picker. And you're always using this we should do this, we should do that. But really, it's you coming up with the idea and other people doing it. And, that can translate once you get home. I'll be sitting on the sofa thinking, I should get a coffee. Like, we should probably look at getting a coffee. And that doesn't happen for 4 or 5 minutes, looking around going, no, it's just me here. I have to actually go up and get that coffee. There is that point of, I don't know. I got to get back into it and start doing it myself. Can't just be blurting out ideas and having other people deliver, because that's what you get used to, right? That's part of the job. And I did that with the music bed. I just blurted out. It would be a good idea if we could take some of the listeners who appreciate the show and who want to get it out there and share and give back to them. I thought maybe, it'd be off the top of my head, as I normally do, I just blurted out the idea that we might want to give away a ticket to the Film and Music Conference, which is coming up the 28th and 29th of September. We've talked about it here on the podcast. We're going to talk about it more in a second. But I said, it'd be a good idea if we did that. We gave away some tickets or ticket. And in this case, I blurted it out with having no idea whether or not that promise could be fulfilled. And lo and behold, the music bed people saved my ass. So exactly what happens on set when I blurt something out and I have no idea how it's going to get done, and then other people do it and I take the credit. This is what's happening now. The music bed has delivered, which means we will be giving away a ticket for you to go to the Film and Music Conference. The details are going to be announced later on Instagram. Follow me over at WanderingDP. You'll get all the updates and stuff like that. But basically, we're going to run a little contest for 2 weeks. You can enter and get your chance to win a free ticket, $599 value, to go see some top speakers talk about film, music, the business, all things associated with it. And they saved me, basically. And this is the type of people that Music Bed are. They could have easily said, Patrick, you said the promise, you're a dipshit, you go out and solve and come up with an answer. But no, with a smile, they said, yeah, let's do it. Let's give away a ticket to one lucky listener. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing. So yeah, check out this week's Instagram, just in case. I will update you there. And probably next week on the podcast, I'll have more information on it. But if you want to be first in, best dressed, that is where you want to go. Now, speaking of Music Bed and the conference, it's happening. It's getting closer and closer. You need to start making plans, ladies and gentlemen. Held in Fort Worth, Texas, September 28th and 29th, 2 days of action-packed speaking. Film and Music Conference brings top creatives and filmmakers together for 2 days of inspiration, education, and new connections. The operative word being connections, so that you can take all of the knowledge that you soak up from these amazing speakers and you go implement that with new people that you've met there that are probably at the same level that you are, that are hungry. You can get out of your little small shitty town where no one else knows how to operate a camera, and you can go make something cool with like-minded people. That is the goal of this thing. Tickets are $599, but you can get 10% off with the code WanderingDP, and you can find more information at filmandmusic.com. Now, you can get 10% off, which is a really good deal. Right? That's 10% just for listening. It's a throwaway. You get 10. Or you could get 100% off if you win that ticket, ladies and gentlemen. Whoo! Okay, we got speakers announced so far, and this list is always going to get larger. There's going to be more speakers announced, I have been told. We've got Robert Legato Bobby Lagatz. And he's an Oscar-winning VFX supervisor who reinvented the film industry. If you want to know about VFX, which pretty much every cinematographer, director, now you have to know, there's very little getting around that. It's pretty much in every commercial, no matter what you end up shooting, there's going to come some VFX question. And no better person to hear the way of the world in that area than hearing Robert Legato talk about it. He introduced virtual cinematography and applied it to legendary films like Titanic, Apollo 13, Hugo, The Jungle Book, and many more. Through his work, he's collaborated with some of the most well-respected names in the film industry, including Martin Scorsese, James Cameron, Ron Howard, and Robert Zemeckis. There's also Franklin Leonard, if you are perhaps less intrigued by the VFX and more intrigued by The Blacklist. It is a yearly publication highlighting Hollywood's most popular unproduced screenplays. I've got a good story about The Blacklist, which I will not share now, but I will share that in a future podcast, so remind me if I forget. Blacklist scripts have earned 250 Academy Award nominations and 50 wins. 50 wins this guy's got. He's probably like, oh, another win. If I could toss it out in the trash, there's too many of them in here. Franklin has worked in development at Universal Pictures and the production companies of Will Smith, Sidney Pollack, and Anthony Magalaha. Ho. Then we've got Rain Allen Miller, a visionary director and writer with a unique storytelling style. She is currently represented at some such a production company featuring some of the top directors in the industry. Rain has worked with leading creative agencies such as Havas and Whedon Kennedy. She developed her award-winning career at Mother London and generating work for clients including Save the Children, Money Supermarket, BAFTA, and IKEA. Money Supermarket. I wonder what their goals are. Money Supermarket. Okay, and the other speakers we're going to be talking about at the end of this. But say, Patrick, listen, I live in Cambodia. The chances of me coming to this film and music video conference is quite small. Well, okay, we got something for you too. Did you know that the Music Bed is making better music accessible to everybody? And you can save 20% off your next on-site license with the coupon code WANDERING20 if you go to musicbed.com/news. So they do music. Say you need something for your project. I don't know what you're doing in Cambodia, but say you're doing something cool and you need some music. MusicBed has got you covered. So it's not only about the conference, people. It's not only about making new connections that will get you work, that will have you living the dream in an unprescribed amount of time, but they also do music, and we've talked about that before. And if you want to save, don't forget that coupon code. musicbed.com/new wandering20 to get 20% off your next on-site license. So many thanks to MusicBed for sponsoring the show, but also for saving my ass after I promised free tickets. And what else we got? Okay. That should do it for our intros. We're going to talk to Banhazl now because he's got a new music video out for Muse, a little band. You may have heard of them. And he's got some other cool shit. If you're looking to check out some of the projects, we'll have his website, Instagram, and a few of the projects up on the show notes page. This is wanderingdp.com/episode 135. And without further ado, I think we covered everything. Let's get into this interview with my man, Banhazl. Thanks for being in the studio, dude. You made it out in person.
Yeah, of course.
A pleasure. For the people that aren't familiar with you or the work that you do, always sort of like to softball a question at the beginning just to make it easy for people to understand where you're coming from. We've got cinematographers on the show that do features, some that do commercials, some that go back and forth between the two, and music videos. What's the kind of stuff that you're working on at the moment?
So I would consider myself a feature DP.
Yeah.
And then I spend all my time when I'm not shooting movies doing commercials and sometimes music videos.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe a lot of fashion stuff as well. And maybe I think the fashion stuff's always kind of, even the commercials and the music videos, I think tend to take a fashion edge.
Yep.
Somehow.
And was that something that has come up along the way that you sort of found that path to be the most interesting for you? Or was that at the beginning you liked those fashion things or you liked those elements and were gravitated towards those?
I think that happened naturally over time. I don't think that was the plan initially, but I think it's kind of, I had some larger fashion projects that did really well and came out really well, and I think it's like a job leads to another job, and like your best work leads to more of that kind of work. And yeah. I think it makes me happy. Like if I'm not going to be making movies all the time and telling stories, then I think the kind of work I'd want to be doing is more on that end of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you look back at those original projects, like you said, that one comes out good and then you get another one that comes out good and it sort of sends you down that path. Can you pinpoint why that would have been the case? Like what
Why did it come out well?
No, not why it came out well, why it worked for you or why you enjoyed that process as opposed to, shooting toothpaste ads or something like that. What was it drawing to you?
I mean, I think there are things that you are into that is going to be like your style, whether you are trying to do that or not. I think like your unintentional style is like your taste, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think my taste has always lent to something a little like messier, or like beautifully messy is what excites me, and like finding that line between it like working and not working, and like that exact place, whether it's in the lighting and the lensing, is like that's where the magic is.
Yeah.
And I think that lends itself to a certain type of work, especially in commercials.
Yeah.
Like that's not going to lend itself to like big bright McDonald's ads.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not what I'm into, and it's also not what I would be good at anyways.
Yeah.
You know?
And does that come from an experience base of saying, okay, you were asked to do those earlier and you find yourself on set and you're like, this just sucks? Or is it that's what you were drawn to? You were drawn to the fashion stuff early on and then you were proven correct?
I think when you start, you're shooting anything you possibly can. And I was super excited about everything that I could possibly shoot. And you're learning and you're growing. And I think just over time, as you start to find what you like and your work starts looking that way. And I just think it's slowly happened over time. And then when you finally can start saying no to jobs, when you finally have enough of like a momentum going where you can start to be like, okay, like rent is
okay.
Like the reason for doing the job starts out as like experience, connections, learning, paying rent, all those things, right? And like it always is that, but like hopefully over time you can become more picky. And I think that's like once I realized like, holy shit, I can sort of relax maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Then I started trying to make choices that were more towards what I was into.
Yeah. And for people that are out there listening, I would imagine that 90% are in that world of, fuck, I just got to give me something to get to the next thing. Was it a large timeline for you to get to that point? Don't say it was last week or I'm going to be...
No, I think it's still happening. I think it's like you spike, right? It's like you feel like you're doing a job and you feel like, cool, like now finally I only do this kind of stuff. Like, great, this is what it's like. Cool, I do this kind of work and it's all great. And then I say no to other stuff. And then you say no to a job with total cockiness and then you lose 4 jobs in a row and you're like, oops.
Okay. I'm back in the world.
I'm totally back in the world.
Yeah.
And hopefully anyone will call me and I'll shoot anything right now.
It gets to those points for everybody. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
So your background, are you originally a Los Angeles person? Are you living out here now in LA?
Yeah, I was born in New York but raised in LA, and I've been back and forth. I went to school here, and then I'd moved to New York and was working there, and I moved back. So it's always been back and forth.
Yeah, and always did you always have the mindset, okay, I'm going to go to film school, I'm going to do this, or was it found in the process? How did it go?
I think it was always movies for me since I was a kid. It was just always movies, and so everything in junior high school, college, film school was all about how to get to be making movies.
Yeah.
I think I thought I wanted to be a director when I didn't know what the different jobs were.
Yeah.
And, you're all like buds and you're making little feature films together. And like, I just happened to be shooting we were all directing, but then I was shooting my friends' projects. I was like the default shooter, like a DVX 100 or whatever it was at the time.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely, I just found I was gravitated towards camera, and I had like a DP mentor, this wonderful dude named Jim Orr, who's a shooter, and he recommended that I go to AFI for cinematography. And I remember thinking at the time, totally stupidly, well, I already know how to direct, obviously, but I can learn the craft of cinematography. And so I went to AFI. I got in by chance, and by the time I left AFI, I was just like completely in love with cinematography and had realized that like that was my way of filmmaking.
Yeah.
And I think like collaborating with people is what I like. It's my personality suits it, I think. Like I've realized that like that's what gets me high in life is people.
Yeah.
So the job of cinematography just like translates that.
Yeah.
And
the experience at AFI, because we had Eric Koretz in here before, who also had gone to AFI. Did you find that the experience of being there was the value was in that collaboration and finding people that shared those ideas, or was it in the actual technical of breaking things down and taking that information and moving forward?
I think it was both. I think I was always like the creative, the artsy shit always came really easy to me, and then the tech like didn't interest me. And I think going to AFI was like med school. It like made me realize that I needed the tech and I needed to harness it. And now I love it. And like actually I've really like, I hated math growing up, and now I actually like really kind of love math in terms of like halving and doubling things. And I remember there's like a day I just realized like, oh my God, all of cinematography is halving and doubling.
Yeah.
And it literally all translates across every single aspect. You're like shutter, stop, depth of field, frames per second.
Yeah.
And I kind of just like saw the Matrix and have
The eyes
loved
opened.
math ever since.
Yeah, nice.
And then I think I had to relearn the creative. Like I left AFI feeling like really, really technically sound, but had like forgotten how to like just listen to my gut instinct that wasn't trained, and actually had like really exciting ideas because I didn't know what you couldn't do.
Yeah.
And I think it took like years to like relearn how to be like an irresponsible artist again.
Yeah. And I mean, it is a fine balance, and you're always doing it. Have you found now that you're, are you still as worried about the technical things on set? Are you looking at exposure and worried about that, or is it more like if it looks good, it is good sort of thing?
I think it's always a balance.
Yeah.
I think like I think the more I do this, the more I get excited about how to empower the team. And like I think art's a great example. Like the more I do this, the more I realize more of my job as a cinematographer for me is empowering the art department and like empowering those people and what they're putting in front of the lens. Like I realize like lighting something beautifully is not hard once you figure out what it needs.
Yeah.
And lensing it is not hard once you figure out, like the hard part's always figuring out like the why.
Yeah.
But what I can't control is what I'm shooting. And like you can light something beautifully, but if it's wrong, if it's the wrong texture, if it's the wrong color, if it's the wrong thing, then it doesn't matter how beautifully it's lit or how perfectly it's lensed. It's nothing.
Yeah.
And I think like the content has become so much more important for me.
Yeah.
So
and have you, through your experience, as you say, it just sort of takes time to learn that it's not all about you, and whatever you do, you need those collaborators and those people on board. Have you developed a process for finding that tone and that mood in the pre-production process? Do you have I'm thinking of finding what you want to portray on screen, finding ways to get there. Is it through watching film references? Is it through speaking with a director? Do you have a system, say if you're going to go into a feature, of how you get to that look?
Sure. I think it's the most communication possible. And I think it happens with my director. It happens with all my keys. I think like I've been trying something, especially on the last 2 movies, where I've been trying to have like an individual lunch with all my keys before a movie.
Yep.
With my first AD, if I haven't worked with them, with my art department, with my camera, G&E, if it's not, hopefully it's the people I work with all the time, but sometimes it's not. And just really like introduce to people the idea that like I want to collaborate with these people as deeply as they want to. And I think like the movie will, we shot a movie recently called Blow the Man Down, which is in post right now, and we shot it in Maine. And I think it's the most effective visual, I think it's the most successful thing I've ever been able to do visually, because the collaborations were so powerful, and because we started from the beginning. Every department was like, let's actually work from the ground up together in a way that none of us have done before. And it like shows up on screen. It's powerful. So
and what is the ideal collaboration in your mind with, well, I mean, we can start with a director. Do you prefer someone that comes to you and says, Todd, I love what you're doing. I want you to take all that you're doing and do it on my movie. Go. Or do you prefer someone that says, listen, this is how I want it done. This is how I want it shot. Come up with ideas to make that fit. Do you have a preferred way of working where they just let you go, or do you like more structure? How does it go?
I think I like to work. I think in principle, I like to work however a director likes to work, and I hope that I can be malleable and find their system. But I think the more I do this, the more I realize like I probably have the way I like to work. I think I do best when I am empowered by the why. Like the more a director can tell me why they love an idea, or I think the more I know why, the more I can effectively like bring my own ideas to it, or know how to fight for their ideas when they're working with the actor, whatever it is. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how does that why manifest itself as you move along down the line into the actual production process? Say you're doing, I don't know, some sort of lighting setup and you're looking at a location. Will you go through and pull reference images of, okay, this is what I want it to look like, and then hand that around to the crew and push it on to the director? What is it? How does it manifest itself, the pre-production process and the collaboration in the actual the final product, I guess you could say?
I think references are super important. I think it's funny. I think different directors like a different amount of references. I've worked with a director that said, like, there's a rule, no watching movies. Once we start real pre-production, we don't watch movies anymore.
Yeah.
And we have our references, but like from now on, all the ideas come in from the air, and that's it. And then we have other filmmakers where like our language is completely based in like film culture, and like it's a really quick shorthand of like you end up calling things really stupid. You're like, yeah, the Boogie Night Shot, or you know what I mean? I think like we all do it. I often wonder like if huge filmmakers, like, is Woody Allen saying like, yeah, we're gonna do like the Spielberg, we'll do the Spielberg Dolly? I think the answer is probably yes.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think I think references and shorthand are super important.
Yeah.
Or like creating your own shorthand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I tend to be influenced by photography a lot. I think for me, like the thing that gets me the most excited is like the landscape of the face.
Yep.
And like, so I end up going to photography or painting more often than film references.
Yeah.
So I think we end up like calling, we're doing the Nan Golden close up here.
Yep.
Or is this Nan Golden, or is it
Yeah.
or is it Diane Arbus? And that means is it a 35 mil or is it 25 mil? These little quick shorthands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always fun. And in working with your crew and the people that you're looking after and the people that are helping you sort of achieve the vision that you've set out for a film, how do you like to operate in that space? Do you try and give your collaborators as much freedom as you can, or are you thinking to yourself when you come into a location, are you thinking, okay, I need 3 18Ks out there, they got to be through this diffusion, then they got to be through this diffusion, and then it's going to look perfect? Do you lay it out like that, or do you say to the gaffer or whoever, this is what I'm going for, and let them run with it? Which approach?
So my approach is to give my keys as much responsibility and trust and information as they can handle. I just think it's a better way to work. It's, again, like the more they know the why, the better they will surprise you with brilliant ideas. And I think I always have an idea, a pretty specific idea of how it should work and what lights it should be and what diffusion, but I rarely speak in those terms because your keys, they know, they are the experts in these things. And I think like I try to, so my gaffer, Josh Hensley, who I've worked with for years, and my first AC, Rebecca Rajanud, we've worked together for so many years at this point. I think like if we talk about soft through a window,
they know. Josh
knows that I want more light than we might need because we can then quickly go softer, or on a commercial. For me, it's always better to have more light because you can add depth of field, you can go high speed faster. It's just more flexibility,
Yeah.
But like, so things like that. And he knows what I like for contrast. But I think I like to present problems that I might already know the answer to, but present the problem to my keys and hear what their solutions are.
Yeah. Looking for the best answers possible that maybe you wouldn't have come up with.
Totally.
Taking advantage of their expertise. And in terms of on the day and challenging yourself and keeping things interesting, do you prefer to work from, I mean, it's hard in commercials not to, but do you prefer to work from storyboards and know as you're going in that morning, okay, we've got these 3 shots, I know I can put lights here, here, and here, or do you like to get there on the day and see the space and see everything and then set it up so that you're lighting the room rather than a shot-on-shot basis? What's your preferred way of attacking things?
I think my preferred way is to be as prepared as possible so that we can improvise on the day. And I think like the more pre-production, the more scouting, the more plan that I have with my gaffer or with the director, boards, whatever it is, the better. But then I try to build a workflow where we can improvise on the day. Like I think lighting, for example, like my gaffer and I try to light rooms, not people. Even if the light is in the perfect spot for that person and it ends up being really beautiful or fashion or sculptural, it's still, we try to keep lights outside the windows. If it's inside, we try to base it off practical lighting or from above, like build ways that it's the right light in the right place that also allows for freedom, for performance, or for whatever it is, you know?
Yeah.
And I think there's a way to do both.
Yep. And in terms of getting there with the image, are you exposing off of a monitor? Are you using a light meter when you're on set? How do you go about judging? And we briefly talked about the technical side of things, but the technical aspects of things and delivering, how are you judging things on set?
So I I came from the film days. I was trained in film, which
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for. Like when I graduated, like The Red was just coming out, and like people were talking about this, like Spike Jonze shot something on a 5D, you know, and like,
Yeah.
but it was video, you know, and like, and so we learned on film, and then promptly no one would hire us to shoot on film. So I still bring my meter, and I just think I think in terms of the meter. It's
Yeah.
why I love the Alexa, because for me, like the Alexa is kind of like, I consider it like a film stock.
Yep.
And I've started using LUTs in really like specific ways, and thinking of like a LUT as like the film stock for this movie.
Yeah.
Or maybe a few film stocks for this movie, you know, and make a night LUT, a day LUT, interior LUT, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I still go off the meter, but I'm honestly not using it as much as I wish I was. And you just go so fast.
Yeah.
We have to go so fast on commercials and music videos and even movies now, like that. Honestly, you get to a point where like, I know that the stop's there because my gaffer's keeping track of it, but like, you know how much light comes out of this light based on an Alexa at
Yeah.
a T2 or at whatever it is. And I think also like, I tend to create a different LUT for every movie. And after a couple days of shooting, you know how that LUT reacts, and you get really used to like, you know, you can see it in the image because the LUT is reacting live, right?
Yeah.
So you can see it in the image, you know, like when the skin is at that point. And I imagine this is like, in some ways I consider myself like a videographer. Like anytime I do this and I look on like the screen and I'm like, and you open up the iris a little bit and you see the skin find that really beautiful point where it starts to break at whatever it is, like 70 IRE.
Yeah.
And I say like, oh, well, that's the exact point. I'm a cinematographer. And then I think, yeah, but you did on the monitor. You're like a fucking glorified videographer. And it's like, I wish that there was no monitor so that I could say like, cool, I know on the meter right now that 5 days from now when we print this, the skin's going to break. And like, I do know it intentionally, like instinctually, but you know.
Yeah, that is there is that idea that's always playing in the back of your head. The usage of LUTs, is that something so that you can bake it into it makes it easier for you and for editorial later on, that this is a look that we can keep because of the fact that you can change so much now? Are you doing that intentionally for that purpose, or is it more for you on set to see, okay, this is where we're going?
In terms of movies only, because it's hard on commercials. I think on commercials it's usually Rec 709 because once it's out of our hands, I'm trying to expose something that is as perfect as possible, but also recognize that like the pipeline gets lost. And but on films, I would like to see something on monitor that we can all emotionally react to. The directors, myself, and I will make exposure decisions based on that emotional feeling. So for me, I want to see it. Yeah. And I think we're doing enough with like contrast changes and skin tone changes, and it's not just color things. It's like creating our own curve. Yep. And I think I like to play on the edges where it's almost too dark, almost too bright, whatever it is. Yeah. So I think it's like a snowball effect where like if the LUT is on screen and we're exposing to that LUT, and after a while you know how the LUT works, and you could actually, and we do it off the meter, and you kind of know like, cool, on this movie with this LUT, 1 over on skin, and that's where it looks great, you know, or whatever it is. Yep. You see it on screen, and we get excited, and we get emotional, and then you can push it further or back it up, and it leads to the next creative decision. Yeah. So I think for me, it's about having like a live creative process, is having the LUT there.
And how in-depth will you get on a film? Will you be saying, okay, this is our day interior LUT, this is our day exterior LUT? Will you be switching between the two? How involved do you get?
It depends on the movie, but it's pretty specific. I mean, the last movie we did, Braid, which premiered at Tribeca. Braid, we had like, I think 6 looks, but it was like a very different. I mean, I would go beyond LUTs. I would say they're like looks. Like it was like a Natural Born Killers style. Like had we done it on film, we would have shot on multiple kinds of film stocks. Or, you know, there was a cross process look. There was like an infrared look. There was an anamorphic color look. There was a spherical black and white look. Yeah, and Jesus. These are different LUTs completely. Different lenses, different LUTs. You know.
Yeah, and there is something to it besides, you know, just the benefit for you, like you say, when you're doing so many different looks to make it so easy for everyone else involved in the process to see what you're doing. There's some strength to that. Yeah,
I think it just gets everyone it's just exciting. You know, like Braid would intercut looks mid-scene for emotional reasons. So there's like a scene where 2 characters are talking in color, anamorphic. Yeah. And when one character delivers a line that like switches the power dynamics in the scene, it all of a sudden cuts to this really grainy spherical black and white on just his angle.
Yeah.
So just the fact that we stopped shooting and we switched to spherical lenses and we switched the LUT and all the monitors are now shooting out black and white.
Yeah.
I think everyone feels that, and probably even the actors feel that.
Yeah.
And it's just like a more, it's just live. It's
Yeah,
happening live.
Yeah, exactly. It certainly would change the entire dynamics of the set.
Yeah.
Which then changes what you get on camera.
Yeah, and I think on more subtle, like on a more subtle movie, Strange Ones, for example, I think we had like a night LUT and a day LUT.
Yeah.
And I think the only difference was like red in the blacks we turned off on night because there's so much black in the image that the red kind of overtook it. So it's just like 2 film stocks.
Yeah, and the for the people that don't know or aren't familiar with the production of these LUTs, what does it look like in pre-production to come up with these? What are you doing to get that look? Who are you talking to, and what are you looking for to get there?
So my process is I always do lens tests, extensive lens tests, and at a certain point, once we know the lenses and we have a location that's close enough to what we're going to do, whether that's the real location or my fiance's dad's house in Connecticut, try to get the real camera with the real lenses in that space with lighting that is somehow similar, and shoot some tests, and then take those to the colorist or my DIT and build the LUTs off that.
Yeah. Okay. And then you just load them into the. I mean, I guess it depends on of course the budget level and the film that you're working on, but. Now the projects that you're working on, are you operating at the same time as you're on set? Are you operating?
Yeah, typically.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd love for that to shift.
Yeah.
For my back, and also just for I just feel like at a certain point there's more important things.
Yeah.
Or I'd rather have a more global view. But I'm still operating, and I love it. I mean, I think like all of us in this generation, like we came up operating, we came up super scrappy.
Yeah.
And I think that'll always be in me, and I love that. And I do think there's like a relationship between me, the camera, and the actor that's really important, even if it's on sticks. I think like physically feeling how the lens, the physical space between the lens and the actors is something that is so important that I think I love operating because of that. But I also, whenever I do work with an operator, I just realize like, oh, got it. Like there are operators who are so much better at operating than I am. Like you can trust them, and they're another key that you can trust and empower. Yeah,
that's why I always say anytime I've got an operator or there's a second camera, there's something about seeing the stuff that you do through, because you always know how you're going to line it up. Like at least in my mind, I'm like, okay, I know the shot that I like because this is what I would do. But then you see someone else in that same space come up with something, you're like, wow, this looks pretty good. Like
totally.
that looks like what I'm going for. You know what I mean? Like that feel.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to have people on set, but some people, some people don't like the what do they call it? The separation or that other person, and it can be hard for some people. But are you shooting? These films, are they 2 cameras? Are you doing 2 camera stuff, or do you prefer the single camera?
I prefer to tell a story single camera.
Yeah.
But I love having 2 cameras there as part of the workflow, kind of like it's like a 2-camera movie that's shot in a single camera style.
Yeah.
This is leapfrogging so that we don't have to switch from sticks to Steadicam. You know, Braid, I think B cam was on Movi and A was on Dolly.
Yeah.
And depending on so you could just constantly be setting up for the next thing,
Yeah.
I'm open to like an actual 2-camera movie. I just think it depends on the aesthetic.
Yeah. Yeah. And sort of backtracking to when you come out of AFI and you're looking for this work and you're looking to do features, what does the process look like for getting there? Do you go and start crewing for people and start trying to build up connections and relationships, or did you just say, no, I'm a cinematographer and I'm going to be unemployed for a substantial period of time before someone, I can trick someone into hiring me?
I mean, I think we call it the dark year, which is, I feel like probably everyone after film school or undergrad has the dark year, which is like you're at school and you feel like you are the future filmmakers of the universe.
Yeah.
And your teachers tell you that you are, and you're like smoking cigarettes, talking about Godard versus Lars von Trier, and you're like yelling at a bar about who's the real filmmaker.
Yeah.
And then you graduate and you're like, oh, cool, no one wants to hire me. And no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
So I was ACing and shooting, and I think it's like the same process that so many people go through is like I'm doing both, and you're learning and you're on set. And at a certain point I said, like, any relationship I'm making now on set as a first AC, people are going to think of me as a first, which is great. This is not what I want. So I said, I just need to stop. And so I stopped pulling and only said I was only going to shoot.
Yeah.
And, shot way worse stuff than I was pulling focus on.
Yes.
For less money.
Yeah.
And just took like a really stressful, year or two, whatever it was, transitioning over.
And was it just a period where you're taking anything that comes your way, whether it's commercial or
for
music
shooting?
video?
Oh yeah. Thank God for like oh my God, what do they call it? Web branded content.
Yes.
I mean,
you smashed the branded
content is the brick,
bedrock.
the bedrock of a cinematographer's. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. And then the progression from there, because I imagine there's a lot of people in that situation right now listening to this. The progression from there, was it one particular project where, you got together with the collaborators and there's finally a little bit of money or a little bit of an idea that was able to catapult you to, the next level? Or was it just an accumulation of, little tinier projects leading to the next project, leading to the next thing?
I think it's both. It's like, it's little momentum.
Yeah.
Shoot by shoot. And then you have little spikes, but I also think it's like, for me at least, my directors and I always tried to treat each project like it was the one and make these branded content pieces so much better than what they were asking for.
Yeah.
And if it's supposed to be like a doc style sports little thing with an interview of like a dude running on track, like, can we just shoot this like a Nike commercial? Like, can we push for better lenses that no one's asking for?
Yeah.
And can we make it in black and white? Like, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, they are okay with us making it 240 in black and white.
Yeah.
With good lenses, and like this was supposed to be like a doc piece, and now it's like something really cinematic. And I think just like by over delivering time after time, you get hired for, because then people see that piece and they think that was the piece. They don't know that like it was over. You're essentially like making a director's cut without being asked. And I think that somehow led to stuff that actually was that, where they were actually asking for that.
Yeah. And was it a process where, you're selling this stuff on and you get on commercials? Because you'd mentioned before that you'd originally gotten in because you were all about the movies and long form and narrative and AFI and all of that. Did you have an adjustment period where you were like, well, the commercials that I'm doing, there's a completely different workflow and what's expected of you and how little pre-production time you have? Was there a period of time where you were frustrated with that, with being new to that and acclimatizing to that environment?
Yeah, totally. I think it's like a different brain, and they're both so wonderful. I'm so thankful for commercials, and I love them, and it's where we meet, we make relationships, and it's where we practice, and like there are so many techniques that we created on fashion stuff or music videos or commercials that we then translated to movies later, which is amazing. Yeah. I think it's just a different brain, and it takes time to realize, like, when you're making a film for me, like all the questions come from like, is this emotionally right? Is this right for the story? Listening to the actors, like listening to what's happening on set. And with a commercial, it's more like, how can we set ourselves up to deliver what we've promised in a beautiful, efficient, on-budget way, and also allow room for improvisation and changes. But it's just a different part of the brain. It's like, I think commercials, I tend to spend more money on lighting on commercials, not because we're trying to show off, but because we're trying to present a situation where the client or the director can ask for anything. And the answer is yes, of course. And here it is right now with a click. Yeah. So that we're never relighting. Like, I never want to create a situation where we're never stopping. You're never waiting on us. Yeah. Period. If possible. And that happens. I feel like if you spend more money up front, or if you do the planning up front, you can allow for that later. Yeah. And I mean, that speaks to this next question, which is there a different process that you take in the pre-production of a commercial versus a feature? I mean, obviously you're going to get longer on a feature, but is there things that immediately when you get called, Todd, we want you to come shoot this thing, dates are all clear, yes, we're on the job. What are you looking for to gain as much information as you can to get to that, setting yourself up for success? On a commercial? On a commercial, yeah. And I think on a commercial, that's where you want the boards. For me, I'm like, cool, we've been hired on a commercial. Like, give me all the information you have so we can start executing. Yeah. It's all execution. Yeah. Do you have location photos? Do you have the boards? What are the limiting factors here? Yeah. Do we only have the talent for 2 hours? Is the location not a lockdown? Like, what are the limiting factors? We'll build off that. Yeah. Whereas for a film, it's like, how do we enter into this like amorphous emotional space? What do I start reading? How do I start being vulnerable for like 6 weeks? And like, it's a very different process, Yeah. Yeah. And is there a question? I mean, are you a technical person in the sense that
as new cameras come in, you're testing new camera. Every time a new camera comes out, are you testing it, or are you someone that looks at the cameras? It's just a tool. You're happy and comfortable with it, and you know what it's going to give you. So it's just a secondary sort of decision.
Yeah, I think the tech doesn't excite me as much as like other. I'm not a gearhead.
Yeah,
I'm a lens head.
Yeah,
I think the glass for me is like I test a lot of glass, and I think that's like, for me, like I get off on the glass, but like, not for it. The cameras are a tool. I think I love Alexa because for me, the Alexa is like a malleable film stock.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily like love the Alexa. I just love that it lines up with my meter, and that I can bend it and push and pull it like a film stock, and it reacts to LUTs properly. And I just like early on, I was trying the Red, and I think other cinematographers make the Red look amazing, and it blows my mind. I look at like Prometheus, and I'm like, oh man, like I want to do that. But I would rather, for me, my brain, I can make the Alexa look like that.
Yeah,
I don't know how to make the Red bend to where I need it to go.
Yeah,
whereas other people have completely figured it out. So
yeah. And down the gear path, are you experimenting when you're shooting with the Alexa? Are you experimenting with ISOs and using those in camera besides the LUT? Or is it like, oh, I just set it at 800 or set it at whatever and not experiment with it shot to shot?
I think I'm pretty tweaky on the Alexa. The reason I love the Alexa Mini so much is that the eyepiece is a little control, and I think I've gotten like terrifyingly fast at like shifting the internal ND and the ISO. And I'm not. It's not that I'm not precious about the settings. Like I'm very conscious of like the ISO changes things drastically. In the curve. But I think I'm open to shifting it as we go because speed. It's just speed. Yeah. Like once the internal NDs were, if Ari's listening, I wish that the internal NDs went at 1 ND increments.
Yes.
Because we would be unstoppable. But the fact that they go like 2 increments means that like you get in these situations you're like, I really don't want to spend those 30 seconds putting in a filter, but I really can't bring the ISO down because we're shooting at clouds. It's going to clip or whatever it is. We did a movie. So Blow the Man Down, it's the last movie I did. We created the LUT off of shooting at 1600 ISO. Yeah. We did that because we wanted deeper depth of field for story reasons, but we couldn't afford big lights to do it. So said, let's build the LUT off 1600. And in that movie, I started trying to sneak in ISO changes. Like I would go to 800 or go to 400, and the LUT did not react properly. Yeah. It actually shifted the curve in a way that didn't work anymore. So that movie got stuck at 1600, which was amazing because then we just treated it like film and just started actually filtering. And
And have you got any other gear, like when you know a job is coming up or you know you're going to do a film, have you got any gear that you know is going to come on the job, like little things, like have you got a monitor or something that you'll always take with you, or a set of filters that you wouldn't want to do a job without? Have you got anything like that?
Yeah, I keep filters and a monitor, and that's what I travel with. I used to own a whole Alexa package, and then I was shooting more film, so I was thinking about buying a film package, and but at this point I've sold everything, and for me it's filters and a monitor. It's one monitor so that no matter where I go in the world, this is at least the thing that's accurate. Yeah. You'd be shocked at how crazy things can look. Yeah. With weird monitors that people just swear is like the thing. You're just like
it's just so far off.
You're like, cool.
Probably that's the thing for you.
It's just like you don't have your DIT there, and you don't, so the monitor is the one thing. It's like, and then filters, because there's things that I do that.
Yeah. And when we're saying filters, you're talking about like diffusion filters rather than ND.
Yeah, I mean, I keep a set of NDs in case, you know.
But and so that means it sort of leads into the next question, which is you're not opposed to, there's some cinematographers that don't like filters in front of the lenses. They think they can do sort of the elements afterwards. Are you someone that subscribes to that?
I go in phases, and I also think it's project dependent. Yeah. I think ultimately I'd love it all to come from the glass, but like sometimes you want certain things. A lot of personality comes out of lenses when you shoot wide open, especially the older guys. Yeah. But I've really started to fall in love with deeper depth of field and really like telling the story with the background. And like, if you have a beautiful, if art is killing it, like I hate the idea of putting it at a 1.3, but the problem is all that beautiful personality comes out at a 1.3. So sometimes it's about like stopping down, but then adding a filter to like give back that, whatever it is, that imperfection. So I think it's like, I think of it like a soup, and it's like all these different ingredients in the soup. It's like lens, filter, LUT, lighting, and they all kind of they mix together.
Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how it's all cyclical, where, you get to one thing and you just love that for a while, and then you do that enough and it's like, oh, let's try this.
Totally.
And then all of a sudden you're falling in love with that. That's just the way it goes. The process for afterwards, and I know it's much different on a commercial than it's going to be on a feature film, but what's your involvement? Well, let's say commercials, for example. We'll start there. What's your involvement afterwards when you've created what you've wanted to create on set with the director? You've got everything there. Do you try and keep in contact and send through stills, or try and fight, because there is so much that you can do now? Later on, have you found anything that actually works to maintain that look that you fought for?
Oh man, for commercials?
Yeah.
I used to fight. It used to be more of a fight, and not that I fight less now, but I've figured out a way to make it a little more streamlined. Like you'd be shocked. Like, you can email as many stills as you like.
Things go straight
they
in the
go
toilet.
right into the ether, man. they just float out there, and the art of CCing gets lost. They just fall apart. So I think for me, for commercials, I'm all about my DIT outputting as many stills as possible.
Yep.
And then I'm all about sharing those stills. Like, I'm not precious with those things. Like, the more people see them and are excited by them, then the more, when we get to the grade, people are like, understand what we all wanted this to be.
Yeah.
So I try to make it, with commercials, make it look as good as possible, make it look as perfect as possible on set.
Yeah.
And then output those stills and be liberal with their,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And then how does that contrast to the feature environment?
So features, I'm way more involved and can be way more involved,
Yeah.
And that's another reason why I like using these LUTs on set, is because I want my directors to be editing something that looks like their movie.
Yeah.
And to live with that for like 6 months, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because I think you make different emotional decisions when you're editing if something's dark. And I think, like, when we're playing on the line so much, like, if a performance feels a little big, but we underexpose it so far, it might be really amazing and might get used, and it might otherwise not get used if you're looking at a shot that isn't exciting,
Yeah.
So I think I feel good knowing that I disappear for half a year and they are looking at footage that feels good.
Yeah.
Although I'm always shocked to find out they were editing on like a uncalibrated
Yes.
monitor for like 6 months, or like a MacBook screen or whatever it is. I'm just like,
all that work.
it's just like, they're just like, yeah, we couldn't use this scene because it was, it was too crushed. It's like, was it? And it's like far away enough that I'm like, was it? Did I totally screw up? Was it crushed? I don't think it was.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, because it's on a MacBook Pro.
Uh-huh.
Got it.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I think everyone's DPs have been dealing with this since the beginning of time. I mean, film DPs were dealing, and not that we're not film DPs, but like exclusively film DPs, like the 70s, were dealing with printer lights and dealing with light bulbs that were old, or dealing with so it's like, I remember like calling Deluxe at like 5 a.m, because that's when they were running my film, and just talking about like how dark is dark and how warm is warm, and like, so the stress hasn't stopped. It's just been it's just in emails.
Yeah, exactly. Been slightly shifted. And are you able to, when you see that first cut for the first time, are you able to disassociate yourself from the pictures, or are you immediately drawn to like, fuck, what did I do there?
Man, no, I still feel like dying when watching the first cut. I have not learned how to watch a first cut. I'm like, it's the most painful. I call it like the I'm a fraud cut.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, cool. Literally everything that because I think when I shoot, I'm really confident. And I think when I'm making the idea, I'm really confident. And that's just like, I work better when I'm like happy and confident and keeping it loose. And we're working hard, but like, I don't know, it's flow state.
Yeah.
And then I watch the cut and I lose all that confidence and I feel like quitting, and I like fooled everyone.
Exactly. Never going to work again.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
And don't deserve to work again.
And does that process get any easier the more that you can you look back at past projects without seeing them for the flaws and see them for the story?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Yes. And even after that first watch, I think that goes away.
Yeah.
I think also the better we get at this, and the more for me, the more specific the LUTs are. And now that like I've pretty much transitioned all the way over to like LED lighting, like even on our big lamps, I'm now using like digital Sputnik beams on Condors or like whatever it is, like instead of 18Ks.
Yeah.
The level of color control is getting so specific that we're doing less in the color grade, and I am like becoming more happy with my work upon watching it. Period. Yeah. Whenever we see it, because at least it's like it's just closer now. You know.
Yeah.
the last movie, the color grade was actually really fast because we completely skipped the stage where you find the movie.
Yeah.
Like it literally, we found it when we were testing.
Yeah.
And then we shot that movie. And then we were really just like cleaning up and storytelling and working with continuity and pushing things further. You know?
Yeah. That's a huge shift in mentality.
Yeah.
Just to, like you said, that the finding of the movie can really shape the entire project and your decisions going forward.
Yeah.
And it is, I mean, it's gotten to a point where it's almost at the stage that you're at with the LED technology for everyone. But it's like a watershed moment when you go on set and you're able to change things so quickly and have that color for the first time. It's like, as soon as you taste it, it's like, oh, I definitely don't want to go back to the fucking shitty gels.
Well, it's crazy. Yeah, it's like I don't love that we can make it up on the day.
Yeah.
I still love treating it like they are big lamps, but like thinking of them as like, cool, the tools, just like before you shoot, you say, I need two 18Ks or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You say like, we need 2 beams or 4 beams.
Yeah.
But the ability to like micro tweak and to make quick changes when things you can't control happen is what I love about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it makes a big difference. And just being able to have your hand on things and to be able to change them as you wish.
Yeah. And skin tone stuff, you know, you're lighting off a stand-in that's like close but not all the way, or sometimes not close at all. You know what I mean? And like you're working so fast, and like you have like a African American actress, but then you have a Caucasian stand-in, and you're just moving so quickly, and you forget.
Yeah.
And you're just like, God, this looks gorgeous, and we've brought the neg in, and like this person just looks so amazing. They're like, and then I look with total confidence, and I'm like, we're ready to shoot.
Yeah.
And then she walks off, and then our beautiful African American actress comes out, and I go, oh shit.
We're not ready.
It's like, cool, huge mistake. And instead of saying like, cool, I need 10 minutes, it's literally, it's an iPad and it's a quick shift and it's usually a color thing. And like, I'm not saying this happens all the time, but like it just allows you to like just be more specific.
Yeah, well, that freedom, even if it saves you, 60 seconds every setup, by the end it does add up, and the ability to, and the confidence, just to know that, okay, if something is slightly wrong, it won't take 15 minutes, it won't take 10, it'll take that.
I think more than like me making a mistake, which never happens.
Of course.
It's more like you want the actor to be able to say like, I know when we blocked it, I stood here, but like right now I'm getting yelled at by my co-actor and it's pushing me back to the wall, and now I'm near this window.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to say like, whoa. Okay, didn't realize she was going to the window. Hold on, I need to drop in a scrim.
Yeah.
Light needs to come down. I'd much rather be like to my gaffer Josh, yo, she's by the window, and he just brings it down 30% and it's beautiful. You know, it's like, if you can treat lights the way you treat Steadicam or whatever it is, if you can be more reactive. Yeah,
exactly. There's so many variables. The more you can change, the quicker, there's always going to be something that comes up.
Yeah.
And are you able now to disassociate when you're watching films, other people's films? Are you able to disassociate yourself from cinematography and just watch the film? Or do you find yourself like, what are they doing there?
I think I'm pretty good at disassociating myself. I think if the movie's really working, that's how I can tell.
Yeah.
Like I'm just watching the movie like I'm 12 years old, then it's good.
Then it's good, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true, but it can be hard. Sometimes, you get into the mix and you're like, wait, what's going on here?
Totally.
It's true. If you're sucked in, then you're
if it's working, it's working. Have you seen Enter the Void?
I have not.
Gaspar Noé's Enter the Void?
No.
It's an insane movie, and it like the camera's flying over Tokyo, and it's flying into people's bodies, and it's flying, people are having sex, it's going through their sex organs and out their mouths and over Tokyo. And at a certain point during the movie, I realized like, wait a minute, the camera's not actually flying. It's just such a stupid thing to say, but it's like, no, the camera didn't come from outside this building, go inside the building, go inside her mouth, and come out his penis. Like, those are rigs.
Yeah.
And I just realized like, man, when the technical artistry is that high, it's magic.
Yeah.
It's magic again.
Yeah. And can you pinpoint things now that will get you excited about projects that are coming up, that if someone, say, I don't know, a director has something or a producer brings you something, can you pinpoint things what will get you excited about coming on board, whether it's a film or a commercial? What do you look for? Is it the director's work? Is it some element? Is it some genre? What's getting you excited now?
I think it's different every time, but I think what's getting me excited now is the work's place in culture right now. I think the world is so crazy right now, and maybe it's always been, and I'm just finally growing up and noticing it, but like I think we have a real responsibility to just be aware of the place our work exists in all the white noise, especially because of Instagram, especially because the internet, because we're being slammed in the face with so much media every day.
Yeah.
And like so much of what I shoot contributes to the white noise.
Yeah.
In a way that it just is what it is. I mean, we're all trying to work, and we also love what we do. So like, I'm not ashamed of it, but like, and we're trying to pay our bills and do good work, and like, there's honor in that. But there's a lot of content coming out. So I think just what's getting me excited is being aware of. So where am I going with this? We did a bunch of work for Janelle Monáe recently that I think I got really excited about, because what she is doing is so amazing.
Yeah.
And her like grand idea of what she's doing with like her image and her album and her music and her like life as art is so important and so badass and so exciting that it made the work so much better. And I saw really good work come out of me because of that inspiration. Yeah. And you realize you can do better work when the ideas are better.
Yeah.
Are better.
And in that decision-making process, where do you find now that most of this stuff is coming from? Is it coming from collaborators before that reach out to you and say, Todd, let's go again? Or is it, are people contacting your agent or through the website or through Instagram? Where do you find now that most of the stuff is coming in from?
Man, I think it's all those places. I think I have my relationships and my directors that I love, and I consider us like partners in crime. And I'm so, honored that they think of me as part of like an integral part of their process. Yeah. And then it's same thing with producers. And then it's also new clients through the agency. And I think it's all places. I think I'm shocked how much Instagram actually has an effect. Yeah. I think like I waver between Instagram being like a personal fun thing where I'm posting photos of my dog or my fiance's hair, which she has big, beautiful Jewish hair that sort of that my son orbits around.
Needs to be photographed.
Yeah, it needs to be photographed. Between that and like just promoting new work. Yeah. And I think I've come to understand that like I really think that Instagram is like it's a business tool for everyone, and that's really what it is. And like just being ashamed of that, but also leaning into it and saying like it works. Yeah. Yeah. So
and this is sort of something that's just recently come up on the podcast and in these interviews with people, which was a realization for me as well, was, do you have to think about things like how far do you take things out? Because, it was explained to me by an older cinematographer that you don't really see 50-year-old commercial cinematographers that are just commercial cinematographers. There is the length of a career is in feature work and in creating that buzz and that excitement about your work and features. And then if you want to, you can come back and play in commercials because you've created that buzz. Do you think about that kind of stuff in the present day, or is it more as the projects come in, you're taking them and trying to do the best work that you can? How far out are we projecting?
In terms of like a plan for the overall career, I think I used to think about it a lot more and stress about it a lot more and like compare myself to other people's track records. Yeah. Now I feel, and I still do on my weaker days, but like, I think now I'm trying to do work right now that I feel good about and that I'm proud of and that excites me, and just trust that is going to guide me to where it needs to go. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I imagine, like I say, there's a lot of people that are listening to the show that are either directors or cinematographers or want to get into the world of commercials or features or all things like that. Is there anything that you would have, we always wrap up with, is there anything that you sort of learned or sourced in the last 5 years or whatever that you wish you would have known at the start? Like, Todd, don't worry about that, or don't do that, or watch out for this. It could be business, it could be technical, it could be anything. Is there anything that you wish, like, man, I should have... knowing this earlier would have been a lot better?
I don't know if I wish I had known this earlier, but I just feel like I just wish I had stressed less because it was useless. Like, I think like just do the work and make mistakes. I think like any success I've had has come from like taking a risk and making mistakes and trusting that like as I'm growing and making mistakes, you're like, to me, like, I don't really believe in the idea of failure anymore. I just believe in like painful learning, like learning that hurts. Yeah. But actually it's like the best thing possible. It's like, cool. Like now I'm stronger. The muscles have been built up again, or stronger than they were, Yeah. So I think like the only thing that matters to me and for anyone is like just not watching what other people are doing on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's literally just making work that is good. And I feel like that leads you where you need to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is there an element in not being afraid or not being stressed about making mistakes, about always trying to push yourself and or always trying to challenge yourself? Do you find that as sort of a motivator for creating new things and problem
Totally.
solving? Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think that's like the juice, I guess on a technical level, like the juice of a commercial is like, cool, there's a thing we haven't done before.
Yeah.
Or cool, there's a challenge like that you can choose for that challenge to be annoying, or you can choose for that challenge to be like the juice of the whole project.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and embracing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. And I love the work. I'm a big fan.
Thank you.
I'm excited about what's coming up next and all the future projects and stuff like that. But thank you for taking your time out of your day to come on in and speak to everybody.
Thank you so much. This is super fun.
Oh, and just like that, that is going to wrap up this edition of the podcast. But I'll tell you what, I need to make a mental note every time I run through these podcasts. Because I get up here and I'm trying to record everything. I'm trying to get it all in my head and I often forget stuff. But I forgot the hotline. Completely forgot the hotline. And I haven't loaded them up. They're not ready to go. And I've already started recording. So there's no going back, ladies and gentlemen. But we could do a mailbag. I don't often do this. But very rare that I share the emails that I get or the comments that I get from people. But I thought this one was a gem. And I wanted to share it with you. Because hopefully you will find it as entertaining as I did. And, but my wife and I, we have a few different businesses, some in the hospitality space. And, there's so many dickheads you will come across. Even if there's 1 in 100, if you've got a hospitality business, that means you're looking at probably 4 or 5 dickheads a day minimum, right? And that's a very conservative number. I would rate it much higher, but it's up there. And so we always have fun stories. We have a bit of a laugh and, they provide entertainment later on, these stories. And this one, man, I mean, nobody likes shitting on me as much as my wife in a joking manner. And this one, this got me. This got me good and it got some laughs. So I wanted to share it with you. So this one is from Nickel. And I won't say his last name or his email address because I don't want anybody to take a dump on him. But I thought this one was quite good. This is, "Hello, brother. I like listening to your podcast, but it so happens that most of the time I keep forwarding it. I might be wrong, but this is my perspective. I feel that there's a lot of unnecessary talk on the show. Just a suggestion. If you could reduce the unnecessary talk, cut to the chase, come right to the point, it'll save a lot of time for everyone, and it would be more interesting." Well, thank you, Nikhil. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the feedback. I'm super appreciative that you've gone out of your way to write me this email. It goes on. "Also, I had a question. I do not like shooting in full open, and a few of my friends tend to open up the aperture when there isn't enough light. So I wanted to know your opinion on it." Well, I could share my opinion, and I've got some serious thoughts on this, but that would require more talking, and I wouldn't want to disappoint you with more talking. So I'm not going to answer. You can take your question and shove it up your ass. I don't know why I thought that one was so great because of the preface and then the question. I thought that was fun. So I wanted to share that with you. I don't mean to poke fun at Nickel. I'm sure he or she is fantastic and super nice. But so we won't do the hotline. But we got the mail just for you. Okay. That is it. What do we got? Next week, we got a breakdown on the podcast. We will be looking inside of a jet airplane, trying to figure out how we can cover 5 different people stuffed in an airplane, trying to make sense of it all, where the light's going to come from, how to do it. We haven't done that yet on the podcast, so that's going to be interesting. And before we go, though, we got to talk about these tickets. Wandering DP is the code for saving 10%. For the Film and Music Conference, but we got a free ticket giveaway, and that's happening this week. Look out for details. The Music Bed is holding, again, in Fort Worth, Texas, September 28th and 29th, the Film and Music Conference. And these things are awesome. It's going to be good people. It's going to be good times. You can thank the people that are there from Music Bed for saving my ass. I would appreciate it if someone would, if I don't have the chance to get there. But they're announcing new speakers. They've already got an awesome lineup. We've got Twin Towers, Aaron and Winston Tao, who are award-winning filmmaker duo. Their short film Sleep Well, My Baby was awarded a Webby Honorable Mention, Vimeo staff pick, and was distributed as the 4th installment of the Film Supply Presents series. Their branded film, Super Marco, won them a Webby Award for People's Voice, as well as nominations for Best Emerging Directors and Best Narrative, and at the One Screen Film Festival. Just the type of people that you want to hear from if you're at that point in your career where you're trying to do some cool stuff, but maybe you don't have access to all of the interesting creative. You got to sort of find your own way and make your own path. That's the kind of people that you want to hear from, because they're immediately doing it. They've got the proven results to be able to deliver, and they're going to be there sharing their stories, and I'm sure you can chat to them afterwards, corner them, and say, hey, how'd you do that? I want to do that too. Then you've got people like Laura Gonzalez. Laura is she's a DP who brings her style and essence to every stunning project she's a part of. Completely unmistakable. She shot commercial projects for brands like Canon, Guinness, Microsoft, Michelob, as well as music videos for Bjork and Sigur Rós and several award-winning films. So she's a badass, and she's going to be there talking about how to spray light and how to get it in your lens. And we've got Dallas Taylor. After cutting his teeth as a sound designer and mixer, he's for networks like NBC, Fox, G4, and Discovery. He launched De Facto Sound. De Facto Sound. Pop, pop, pop. Remix that, De Facto Sound. Can you do this podcast? Thanks. High-profile projects ranging from blockbuster game trailers like Fallout 4 and Skyrim and Sundance award-winning films to advertising campaigns with Nike, Adidas, Buick, National Geographic, and many, many more. They're going to be announcing even more thought leaders and innovative filmmakers to the lineup soon. Make sure you check out the website, filmandmusic.com, I believe it is, and you can save 10% or get yourself a free ticket starting this week. It's going to be awesome. And that's it. That's our advertisement for the music bed. Also, remember, the code to save on the membership stuff is musicbed.com/membership, and you can find 20% off your next on-site license there. They're doing a membership thing. Everybody needs music. MusicBed has the best. That's where you go. That's where you are. Just do it. Okay, and that is going to do it for this episode of the podcast, people. We had some fun. We talked to Banhazl about maybe changing his name and getting his career really launched. Not that he needs any help from myself, but that's what I would do. I would embrace it. Go full Banhazl. Actually, I'm going to start going Banhazl. I'll just make up that name. Not like I'm in LA, right? Okay, that's it. Many thanks for listening to the show. And if you could, go ahead and go to iTunes, especially after a beautiful episode like this. Go to iTunes, leave an honest review like Nickel. Maybe that's your review. I appreciate it. I appreciate knowing that someone out there is taking the time to write that and to think that it would make a difference. I like that. And leave a review there and share it with your friends. Tell all your other little film buddies that, hey, there's this dipshit that does this podcast. You should also fast forward it too until the interview part. And if you're listening on YouTube, you can just click the little timestamp link and you can skip my intro altogether. But I'll be able to see that you did that in the analytics. I'm watching. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Wandering DP podcast. For more information on the topics discussed in this episode and for show notes, visit www.wanderingdp.com. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to rate, like, and subscribe on iTunes.